Ready to take things to a new level? This is Level On Up with Sadia.
Welcome, Robinson. Thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat with me today, and thank you for providing one of the, banger tracks of 2018 with Nothing to Regret.
Oh, thank you. That's a really beautiful, kind introduction and very kind words to say. I am very excited to be chatting today. As you can tell by the fact that I've tried to start this conversation early.
Let's take it back to where it all began. I didn't realise that you've been writing with some pretty incredible people since, 2015?
Yeah, I think, I felt pretty lucky in the sense that, when I left school, I went to school in Nelson, and, I kind of left school with this idea that I was going to make music happen for me no matter what it took. And I'm lucky to kind of find the right people to kind of, really set up those early starts of my career. And I got to go to, Australia, and did my first sessions there. And I remember the first time I went to LA and working with these really big producers as an 18-year-old. And I was like, God, how do you, co-writing is such a crazy thing where you're obviously, you go from writing by yourself to then writing with other people. And it was a real process of learning how to, I suppose, communicate those ideas to other people.
And your family, you have musical members as well?
Yes. So my mum, she's classically trained in the piano. And then my grandmother was an amazing pianist and singer, but she was more, I think, drawn to playing by ear. And so I feel, very lucky to have always been surrounded by music. And then, I think I wasn't always the greatest, payer of attention as a child. So I remember my mum trying to teach me the piano, but I think I really gravitated towards my grandmother's way of learning, which was by ear and just kind of really feeling it, which was cool.
And just before this chat, you made mention you've lived in Australia. Where else have you? I believe you've lived in London as well. You're a woman that likes to travel. I'm
a lady that loves to travel. So I was obviously, born in Greymouth, New Zealand, but my dad he was Australian. And so we spent probably a good half of my life living up in Peachester, which is just, I think, out of Biwa, Sunshine Coast. And so I lived there as a kid, and it was really amazing because this trip I got to go back there and kind of, I think I hadn't been back in about 15 years. So seeing those roots and, visiting those parts of my life were quite emotional and cool. Yeah.
Now, I made mention in 2018 you released Nothing to Regret, and a string of hits followed afterwards. You were only 18. Were you prepared for that kind of success that early on?
I feel like it's so funny when things happen to you. It's how you adapt to them, but how also they don't really feel real, if that makes sense. So I think, I'd been releasing music for maybe the year leading up to Nothing to Regret. I think I'd released 2 songs. And then obviously Nothing to Regret happened, and it was this kind of instantaneous connection with people. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. But then I think everything started moving so fast that it was kind of hard maybe to connect to what was actually happening and how many people were connecting to and listening to the song. So I feel like maybe it wasn't until a couple of years later where I looked back and I was like, man, that was a really crazy time. That was really crazy that happened.
Well, speaking of connections, you actually connected with me with Karma on so many different levels. Not only was it kind of mirroring what I was going through in life, you released it on my birthday too here in Australia. So I'm like, she is totally talking to me right now.
That was from the universe for you, I'm sure. I simultaneously lined that up.
And I believe you're a big believer in things in regards to the universe, because you've had a rough couple of years, haven't you?
Yeah, I think, I just have a trust in everyone's journey. And I think there can be lots of things that happen to us that kind of maybe make us feel like we're not on the right path, or that, we're not doing the right things. But I really do trust, I just think everything always works out the way it's meant to in the end. And I know for me, I was going a million miles an hour before COVID. I was so hard on myself, I would have this the voice of perfection that kind of goes on in your head that says, you're not doing enough, or, I think as well, writing music in the industry sometimes can be a difficult thing when you don't have the time to connect to yourself. So I think, going home over that COVID time, I went back to my mum's farm, and it was this moment of realization that slowing down and allowing yourself time to like think, maybe just like be with yourself and let life happen to you. I think, I grew exponentially in that time, and maybe more so than I'd ever been able to grow. And my life was just done by being with myself, slowing down, reflecting. The music just started to pour out so naturally. So I think I really learned that as much as this world loves to move very fast, I think it's really important that we don't feel guilty about, taking some time for ourselves. It's like, that's where we learn who we are, I think.
And this time round, you're doing it as an independent artist. That must be quite exciting.
It actually is very exciting. I feel like it's that duality of like, there's this very exciting nature to it all, but there's also this unpredictability where, you're really building, like, me and my manager, Jeff, we're building this vision between the two of us. And it's really started from, me going home and being so inspired. And, I watched, I don't know if you've ever seen Shutter Island, but that movie was so inspiring to me. I think I watched it probably 15 to 20 times over lockdown. And there was just this, I don't even know what it was about it, but it kind of pulled my mind in all these different areas of like how we can, sometimes things can be quite different to how they're presented. And I think that movie, really inspired this like vision of just like looking inside myself and thinking about things differently, and then taking that vision, I suppose, outside that little confined space of my farm and really working with Jeff and us like utilizing, what we have and what we're able to do. And then you execute these ideas and thoughts, and it's really coming from, the base, it's just the two of us, and then projecting it out into the world. It's very like, I guess, this intimate thing,
Do you think you've got less pressure on yourself this time round because you've obviously experienced it all and you're able to pick and choose the people that you want to work with a little bit more?
I think, even more than that, I probably just have a better idea as to what I like, what I don't like. I think when you're young, it's so easy to say yes to everything. Like if someone says, what about we try like, this style, or what if we try, this kind of sound? And as a young person, you kind of want to do everything, and you're like, yeah, I could do that, or I could be that. But I think, the biggest thing that comes with sitting with yourself, reflecting, is you learn who you are, what you like, what you don't like, the kind of music that you want to make. And I think more than anything, you really just know what you represent, maybe more so. So I think more than ever, I feel like I've really found my voice now. I think this time around, I feel my voice, and I feel very strong and like strong-minded in what I'm doing. I'm like, this is my vision. This is what I want to say. This is, I'm like styling myself. I'm kind of like, me and Jeff are working on all of these ideas for concepts, and it really is coming from the ground, if that makes sense.
Well, you've truly found your voice, because loving Teenage Renegade. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, so Teenage Renegade was created actually over a Zoom, which was funny because I never thought that I'd be able to do the Zoom thing. It can be pretty like unpredictable at times. But I'd done a trip, I think towards the end of last year, where I went and met this amazing producer, Tyler Spry, and I'd loved a lot of, his work with like One Republic, and just knew that, his sound was very captivating to me. And so I think going over, I was like, oh, like this is a really exciting first session back into the music industry. And, you never know how it's going to go, but immediately we really connected and understood each other. And I think he really like understood where I was heading musically and as an artist. And we, I think we did 2 or 3 sessions, and then the 3rd or 4th, Teenage Renegade was born, and we'd done this amazing session with, it was me, Tyler, and a rally. And it was just, one of those, when everything just works, and it just was free flowing and easy and inspiring. And afterwards we're like, oh, that was really great.
Is it a preview for an upcoming EP album? What can we expect?
Yeah, so Teenage Renegade is, the first single of a body of work. It's looking like it's going to be an EP. And, the next single's written. The single after that is written. The whole EP is really in its final kind of processes. We're just finishing production and all of that. So it feels very, I don't think I've ever been in a place where I'm like, got all this music that's just ready to go now, which is very exciting.
Can we expect a few more trips over to Australia anytime soon?
Absolutely. I think we're planning towards the end of the year, which I'm very excited about.
Well, I can't wait for that. You made mention earlier that, during COVID that you, how's the best way to put it? You were able to tap into your songwriting a little bit more. Were there other things that you did to help ground yourself and find yourself that could potentially help others?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that, a lot of the things that I did going home was just really allowing myself to relax. And I think, when we're going a million miles an hour and we think, oh, I've got to do this by this time. And, by the time I'm 25, I have to have this, and this. And I think rather than forcing life and just, really letting life happen to you, I think you allow yourself a lot of freedom for your story, I suppose, to unravel. And I know, I remember thinking before COVID, I'm going here, I'm going to move to London, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But I think going home really taught me that, as much as we do have control over the things we do, sometimes life takes us down these unexpected paths that we wouldn't necessarily choose for ourselves, but sometimes that's like the best thing for us. And I worked at the supermarket, which was amazing. I learned so much. I met so many cool people, and I just think, I really just let life happen to me. And I think it's a really positive, selfless kind of thing to just let that happen.
Well, speaking of letting things happen, how would you feel if I asked you to open your glove department just so we can get a glimpse inside of Robinson's life?
This is going to be really boring, I feel. See, let me tell you why. It's because I haven't driven this car in maybe like a year and a half now. So I've just gotten home. So it's going to be all my mum's stuff. So let's see what we've got.
Oh, that is adorable.
We've got
safety first.
Lovely calculator. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Grab that book out. That's a good one. Got a car manual here.
Well, thank you so much for having a chat with me today. I can't wait to see and hear what you're going to release next.
Thank you so much for chatting with me. I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm very excited to, start this next phase of Robinson. I feel very, very healthy and happy and confident in who I am, and I've got a lot to say, so I'm excited.
Well, we can't wait to hear it. Thank you again.
Thank you. That was really kind.
Follow Level On Up Podcast on Instagram.